Alrighty, I think this is probably it's a little grainy on my end, but I think that might just be my computer. But I think that this is the right lighting for what I need to do, which is weird because it's barely lit. I got the overhead light off and I got the closet light on with the slide together closet doors acting as a diffuser for the light, because if I get too much light, well, I'm pale, so I glow. But if I get too much light, it's just harsh on me. But this is about the right color balance for where I want to go. I think I'd have to go in and tinker with the camera settings to maybe change some of that in the future, which I may have to do. But in the meantime, we are revisiting projects we worked on this year and kind of giving a follow-up discussion of things we did. Specifically, this week is product design and food category content. So the food stuff we covered last night, that I did the mukbangs to start the year off, and then I did the keto taste tests. Those are the two we did last night. We're going to do 2 more tonight for food. And last night we discussed the coaster and tray puzzle set, and we did a discussion of the bullet journal stuff. And now tonight we're going to cover 2 more within that product category, and then tomorrow we should have just 1 for each of them, because there's really, the way I constructed this year's worth of creative projects was to do a new project every week. I did January and February. That was categories of writing, video, board game, product, and then taste test or food based, then alternating between art 1 month and then music a different time, and then or audio at a different time, and then video games was category 7. Category 8 has been health and well-being that I've sort of added since then. But starting in January and February was 1 week each per. So that's the 2 months would get you a full set of the 7 or 8 that I did. And then the cycle was supposed to start again. But I do recall I did January, February, and then March I actually took the time off to try to just test out alternating, 1 month, 2 months on, 1 month off. And I went a little bit stir crazy in March. I couldn't wait to get started again. And then I do think that part of what I did, I think March was when I made the trip out to Oahu too. And then April, May, I did another set. So that's 2 sets of each. And then June and July, I tried to do another set. So that's 3 sets. August and September, a 4th set. And then October, November was supposed to be this last set. And December was going to be the recap month, which is what we're doing right now, and finishing off some of those projects. So there should be 5 of each thing. This is a short week because I didn't get started until very recently. So technically, are we fighting me on this right here? All right. So technically, I could have started last week with some of this content, but even then, if I had started on the 8th, I could have been doing, oh, golly, really? You're just going to be that argumentative. So we're going to have connection issues. Connection is unstable. Please wait while we try to reconnect. Why are you disconnecting me? Why are you making this harder than it needs to be, YouTube? Anyway, so this is a problem we had all year long. At random intervals, we would be unable to connect to YouTube and it would drop our signal. And that's, I guess, as good at any place as to jump in on the first post mukbang food one that we did, which was the cooking show that I tried to do. And it cut out a huge chunk of that first episode where I was making ketchup, tomato-based sauces, essentially. I did 3 tomato-based sauces. I had fun doing that show. I just don't think live is the right way to do it. I think going forward, if I want to do that again, I may try to do that as pre-recorded, and I might see if I can set it up in a space that I can use camera 1, camera 2, lower third, maybe a window for ingredients list, and try that out with OBS, which lets me pull in that ingredients list, lower third, and switch between camera feeds with the click of the button. And I can theoretically use OBS to record videos, not just live stream them, because live streaming, it's just going to get glitchy. It's going to do this again. And it seems like it does it impractically randomly. So I think if I were to do like the cooking show I did, I really did enjoy doing that. I think the 2 things I'll take away from it is it may be better as a pre-recorded and then posted video rather than a live video. I might be able to post them as premieres, which would let me have the live chat off to the side while the video plays. So I may look into doing that in the future. And the other thing I'll say is I did 3 recipes per episode in that first cooking show that we did. And that was too many things. And it's partly because I have a tendency when I think about doing a video like that, I feel like I don't want to inconvenience you for one piddly little recipe that maybe you don't care about. Here's 3, and you might care about one of them more than others, or you might like them all. And it's just a mindset I have to get past, because I know that's not an accurate reflection of how people watch videos. I just feel like my brain kicks into the automatically assuming that I'm going to be an inconvenience if I do less than everything in one go. Oh, great. There's a spider hanging off of the camera now. Cool. Anyway, doing them in the future, I think 1 recipe per video, recorded and uploaded potentially as a premiere video, is the way I want to do it if I do more cooking shows like that. And I had fun doing those. Like, those were a little bit more fun than doing the mukbangs. The mukbangs were, yeah, they were a haul. They were like pushing myself to eat something that passed the point of being hungry. And are you really trying to make a home on my camera, you silly little spider? I'll watch it drop over the lens. That would be hilarious. What? You are really behaving weirdly for a spider. Anyway, so I think that's the much better way to squirrel. A little ADD there. Doing a cooking show with pre-recorded and trying to learn more about how to use software like OBS to record and do in-camera editing. So in-camera editing would be something I could probably discuss more when talking about the video skits that I wrote up. The in-camera editing is a little bit more of setting it up so that the things you want to do for the editing are done while you're interacting with the camera. So instead of doing a rambling monologue and then going through editing and cutting it down to the important ones, you script it so that it's exactly how tight it needs to be. You rehearse it and you put it out there in a finished form so that there is little to no editing that's needed afterwards. And in this sense, it's also doing things like using something like OBS, where you have the ability to load, put 2, 3, 4, even 5 different cameras if you wanted to, set them up in an array, do your stage lighting, and have some images, graphics, and text that you can make as still frames that you can put up with cutout windows in them, so that like the lower third would just be a bar that I could drop across the front of the video. And there are ways you can do that so that you have it set and it appears with a click of a button and it disappears with a click of the button, and set that up. I mean, honestly, if I'm the only one doing this, it might be a little bit hard to be the one clicking the buttons and being the one on camera. But if I really wanted to do that, there may be a way to set up some foot pedals so that I can tap my foot on one of them and it'll shift to the next set of frames. That's just a crazy idea that potentially I could do something like that. But doing that format, I think, makes way more sense for the cooking show, which is something worthwhile learning from what I did today, this year. So the other food thing that I wanted to discuss was the protein bar taste tests that I did, which is distinct from the keto in that they're not high fat. They are protein bars, so they have higher protein. But in a lot of ways, they're very similar to the keto bars, except for in a keto bar, they're more likely to give you very low carbohydrate. Like keto bars are more likely to keep you away from fruits, grains, and other things like that can add a carbohydrate load to the bar. The protein ones that I found, and I did the taste tests, I want to say early last month. The protein bars that I found are usually touting themselves as lower carbohydrate, but not necessarily low carb. Sometimes they often included things like blueberry or other fruits, which would be a no-no on a low carb or a keto diet for the most part. You might get some artificial flavor for those things mixed with artificial sweetener in a keto bar, whereas they're likely to include just a little bit of dried fruit into a protein bar. So that was one of the biggest distinctions, but the protein bars honestly are very similar to a keto. They just don't have as much fat in them. So butter, ghee, coconut oil, what's the one that everybody names like it's an important thing to know, the MTH or whatever it is. It's just more, it's like the sucrets, the only mint with retsin, as if retsin is a thing that we should all know or care about. It's just a branding thing that they made for themselves to make them sound distinctive from the other companies. And I feel the same way about like all the things being touted about protein bars. The second thing I'll say about the protein bars is they are, without a doubt, not helping your hunger cravings. At least if you're anything like me. If you're hungry, no, that's not fair. I'm being a little cruel. I can eat one of those protein bars and I will be full like I ate a meal for hours. So like I was hopeful for it. When I go to work, we have protein bars for a really good price there. I can grab two of them for $2 and have something that should leave me feeling full most of the day long. So I eat my breakfast, like ham and eggs for breakfast, two protein bars in the middle of the day, and then come back and do something light for dinner. It's noteworthy that I can do something like that, and by the end of the day, accrue maybe 1,000 to 1,500 calories from eating that way, which is way less than I need. I need about 2,300 a day to be even. So eating that way, those 180 calorie bars do leave me mostly satisfied. But I will say I can eat high protein that's healthier than those bars, and I am a lot less hungry with even fewer calories if I'm not doing those bars. Now, I'm not saying my goal should be to decrease my caloric intake. I really shouldn't be getting 1,500 or less per day. But being able to say, I have ham and eggs for breakfast, maybe have a small, like a salad for second breakfast, and then having some protein-based lunch, like a tuna or something like that, and then have a snack of some kind in the afternoon, and then have a dinner where it's a protein-based dinner. I should be able to eat that way all day long and make my caloric intake values for the day. Those bars make it harder for me to structure my meals that way, and they make me crave things that I don't normally crave once I've eaten them. So like I don't crave right now. I'm not particularly craving any fruits. Like I've had some oranges and some apples over the last week every now and then because I happen to have some. But I'm not sitting here jonesing for a banana or something similar to that. There's no part of me that's like, I need something sweet. It's just not there. But when I eat one of those bars, I do get that little nagging feeling in there sometimes. It's like, you sure you don't want something sweet? You sure? Like, I don't want something sweet, except for when I eat bars like those. So my experience with the protein bars is they are better than a candy bar, marginally better. Now that I think about it, I don't know how much better we should say they are. They have a lower carbohydrate load. But I think if I remember, well, yeah, I'm trying to remember. Like a Snickers bar, I think is 200 to 280 calories for one bar. And so the protein bars that I've consumed at work, they're smaller than a Snickers bar, but they're also only 180 calories. And of the calories they have, most of them are going to be in the form of proteins. So they're marginally better for you than the sugar rush and the empty sugars. But they still use some of those artificial sweeteners, which I think are not particularly beneficial to trying to control your appetite or watch blood sugar issues or things like that. I think they're misleading, and I think if I were to choose between yesterday's discussion of the keto bar stuff and the protein bar, I think I would probably favor the protein bars, but I would want to figure out how to make something like that for myself so that I have control over the ingredients they're using and don't use a lot of the extra filler garbage that. And I still like I'm not big on the protein bar thing. I think the only thing I found them valuable for is I can have them at any time and I can keep them in my car. So I go do a double shift at work. I go in for a single shift. I'm working at work and the manager says, the person coming in for the second shift isn't coming in. Could you cover for the second shift? I can say yes, because I know I can get something simple to eat that'll make me feel full until I'm done my shift. For me, where I have a chronic health issue that makes my ability to eat certain things too difficult to do on the job, certain things would make my digestive system extremely upset, and I can't pull a shift if I'm going to go eat something like a microwave burrito or a slice of pizza. Both of those things would absolutely wreck me for a day. I've done them for nights when I've hung out with people because I know I'm going to be near a bathroom and nobody's going to have any demands on me that I can't just get up for 5 minutes and come back. But when I'm on shift, I have to be on shift. You don't get the chance to run every 10 minutes to go take care of a health issue. And so having something that I know that I can digest, that'll make me feel full and not hungry and sicker for not eating, that's valuable to me. But I don't like the idea of making a candy bar a meal replacement. I just don't like that mindset. I would much rather be able to say, have a equivalent of, I want to get away from grain-based things. So I'm more in line with like a chef salad, or maybe even something as exotic as grilled chicken with cheese and some spices or a marinade of some kind. Like I'd like to have something like that. That's better food for you, like a vegetable on the side of that, like a steamed broccoli or a asparagus. Those are better food choices. And if it's at all possible, you should be eating that way, not trying to figure out how to get a candy bar or a peanut butter cup in your food. But I get now why so many people have such bad eating habits. We just aren't given permission to have access to environments where having real food stored for us and then accessing them when we need them. Like, we're just not given permission to function that way in our world. And I think that's a flaw in the way we run our world, not an excuse to eat garbage. But anyway, the protein bars, some of them were actually really, really tasty, and I would consider them candy bars at this point. Their taste profile and their texture, I would call them candy bars. And I would treat them like I treat candy bars. They're a treat. They're not a given food. They're not a thing that you have more than once a week or once every other week. They're a special treat that you do on occasion. Oh, there was a black spot that went past. The spider did crawl. I saw a flash of darkness over on the side, and it was that spider again. He crawled across the lens. You had a clue, Spidey. All right, so that's really most of the food discussion. The products that I want to discuss today are going to be the t-shirt designs that I actually put up on the website for Teespring. I mean, the simplicity of some of those, they give you multiple fonts to work with, and so you could relatively easily bang out some real zingers The trick to it is, it's sort of like joke writing. If you know any comedians, they'll tell you you don't just get up and blather on stage. You write and you write. You go up on stage, you bomb, you figure out why it didn't work the way you thought it did. You rewrite it and you keep going. And eventually you'll get a tight enough joke that it works timing wise and layout wise perfectly. Well, not always perfectly, but really, really well. And that's really what you're doing when you're writing a t-shirt. If you're doing the written t-shirt designs and not visual arts, like if you're not doing something like a stormtrooper in bell bottoms doing the Saturday Night Fever dance, like that's a visual, and you need to do the artwork for that. That's a harder hurdle to get over. You can still do it if you're an artistic person. I have some of the designs I want to do that are based off of some of the art styles I did earlier in the year for one of the categories that we'll cover later. Some of those paintings and art styles that I experimented with, I kind of want to make t-shirt designs based off of those. I also have some designs for t-shirts that are based off of a playable game. So the design on the shirt is one half of a playable game, and you meet somebody else with one of the other shirts, and now you've got an ability for you two to play a game with each other based off of shirts you're wearing. That's a fun thing I want to try to do. There are a couple other designs that I want to experiment with, but those are a little more complicated with things to work out. The thing about Teespring that I thought was really impressive is how simple it is to get started. And so what I want to kind of do when I go into the new year here is I've been waffling back and forth on this for a bit, so you'll have to bear with me. If you're not interested in the topics that I use, don't hold it against me. You're not required to. They're going to be punchy, they're going to be snarky, and they're going to be political. And so, I mean, we're going into a political season. I just can't imagine how big a mistake I would feel it was to not take advantage of that. Now, I do want to see if I can find a way to make it not just doing politically snarky shirts, but doing shirts that support a distinct message. And then I want to talk with, and I need to do this, I think probably this week, is get a hold of a Teespring representative and ask them if there's a way in which some of the proceeds of what I'm doing can be sent to a charity of some kind. So, I do a shirt about a political topic that's, the kids on the border, the concentration camps, essentially, of children on the border of the United States. If I do a shirt about that, it shouldn't just be to make a punchy political statement and zinger somebody. It should be something that benefits solving the problems that I'm pointing out in the slogans I put on the shirt. And so if I do things like that for multiple causes, I want to be able to have those causes benefit from the sale of any of those shirts. And so I got to talk to somebody at Teespring about that. But that's not the entirety of what I'm going to be doing with shirts. That's really going to be an off to the side section. And I may see if there's a way to subdivide my t-shirts available, so you can see my others. Like I don't want to say for sure whether or not I can do this yet, because I haven't checked, but whether or not I set them up as two different storefronts. So you could see that I have this other storefront and some of the things that are kind of in there. But you're there for my t-shirt designs that are like snarkmonger and sometimes I worry. Those kinds of they're not controversial. They don't pick sides. They don't stir any pots. They're just statements of quirky comments that I thought would be appropriate for a t-shirt. Those are safe. You don't have to feel confronted by a topic you don't want to deal with by examining those shirts. And I want to see if there's a way to separate those two and keep them separate like that, so that you don't feel like participating in some of my like game shirts or weird art or any of those projects. You don't feel like you have to expose yourself to these things just to see these things. Maybe that's just me being a people pleaser and non-controversial, but I kind of want to make it so that everybody feels like there's something of value that we can get from interacting. So that's sort of like some of what I'm trying to do with the t-shirt line still. Going forward, one of the things I'm looking at is there's a type of artwork that's called hand lettering. So instead of using just the basic fonts they give you on Teespring to do a write-up of a slogan or a couple of words, it's really just basic fonting. It's like the word, you might be able to do it so that you could rotate the words a little bit, but you're going to rotate them as a block, and they're still going to be a straight line. It's like a straight rectangle that they're written in. And there's something called hand lettering that you might be familiar with from old signage or other designs or record album covers. All of those are done by an artist who does hand lettering. And trying to pick up and learn some of those skills is something that I've dabbled with a few times over my lifetime. And I'm looking back into it for figuring out some typographical or artistic scripting styles so that I can put really artistic ways of expressing simple words. So it's not just borrowing a font from a website and posting it up. It's something that's not reproducible in the way that I've done it. I can do it because I designed it and I have the images for it. If you were to try to do the same thing, you might be able to do something close to it with fonts and photoshopping and changing a few things, but it's never going to be quite the same thing as something done with my own hand. And so that's something I want to explore a little bit more for doing some t-shirt designs for Teespring. And that sort of leads us into the other thing that I want to explore with Teespring and the second category of product for discussion tonight. And that's the superhero hoodie and the kaiju socks that I was working on. Those are things that I worked on the design for the superhero hoodie, and I designed it in such a way that I know what I want to do with it will be to make a design for the Sputterman, the health and fitness category that I want to start up, and I'll discuss this when we go into it in a future week here. But Sputterman is the sort of joking name that I wanted to do for the video where I do a series of exercises. It's starting as a couch potato, can I become a superhero? And the joke of it is the end, like, no, in a month, you're not going to be a superhero just by exercising. But what I'm doing in those things is I'm starting with how much of these exercises can I do? And at the end of the month, can I do as much as 10 times as much as I did at the beginning? And that's like, I'm 10 times as powerful as a couch potato, so I'm a super couch potato, or a Sputterman, sputter as in potato. And so I designed this superhero costume, and I want to design one up and have it wearable for the end of the edited video of the exercises. And I have a logo that I can make of a potato that I can put in the middle and make myself Sputterman. So if I do that, I can have the potato logo on the chest, and then there's a spot on the back that I can do the Sputterman design. But I designed this shirt originally so that it's generic enough superhero costume that I can make that design without the potato logo on the front and back, with just a space to put different logos on. so other people could do. Yeah, there's a couple of guys on YouTube that I watch pretty often, and they have nicknames they give themselves at the opening of each video, and it's like a different nickname. It's previewed. The channel is previewed, and they do movie previews, and they do skits or jokes about movie previews. They riff on them, essentially, is what they call it. And I want to send each of them a customized superhero shirt. One of them has a nickname for, would be really easy to come up with a hero design for. The other one's a little more tricky, but I want to make a logo for each of them that I can put on their their superhero costumes. And then there's the option of using their channel logo on the back, or just a larger version of their personal logo. And so that's the superhero hoodie. The kaiju socks, the thing I'm struggling with for that one is I don't want them to look like cheesy toys. I really want them to look like legitimate hand puppets. And maybe I'm overcomplicating it. Maybe it would be fun just to do a cheesy toy one once. But what I'm looking to do is find the right paper or fabric that lets me have the features or characteristics of the monster that I'm trying to create. So in this case, it might be something like the texture of porcupine quills with the texture of elephant skin, and sort of collage those together in a way that it looks like the skin of a monster, and then make eyes and nostrils, teeth, and lip designs onto a flat surface, scan it, and then or take a picture of it, and then map that onto the socks. The sock design availability of what they have on Teespring has some limitations, and it's actually pretty versatile. If you can make the images unwrapped of the thing you want to put on them, then it should be able to reproduce them. Now, a good example of that is if I took a pattern for a cobblestone street, I could make cobblestone socks relatively easily. I just need to be able to take the pattern so that when it looks like it's going to wrap fully around to the other side, that the edges of things map together well. Basically, you want to map it as a cylinder, and then cut along an edge of that cylinder so that when it wraps and connects those edges together. You should be able to do that relatively easily. I'd be curious to try like a brick or a cobblestone pattern just to see if their printing method allows them to map those things that well. It may have some misalignments, and I haven't seen how well their system handles that. So I do kind of want to check that out, but it shouldn't be so grossly out of whack that I couldn't feasibly do a monster skin texture. And it may just be a matter of figuring out where to hide the seam in such a way that it wouldn't really even matter. So that's sort of like the thing I'm sort of needing to play with right now, is the finalizing some of the artwork on those. But I could make the hero. Well, I should be able to make the sock puppets available for people to play with. Doing the hero shirts or hoodies would also be it would be the blank versions without the logos on it. So those are we did the t-shirt designs and the kaiju socks and hero hoodies. for product design. We covered cooking show and protein bars. I believe that leaves just the recipe for cooking tomorrow, and I think it's the backpack is the only thing left on the product category to cover tomorrow. And then next week, I need to figure out what the 2 categories are going to be for that one. In the meantime, I did upload the candy cane taste test, and we did these guys. We did the first one of these. Tomorrow we do the second one of these. And I did another episode of Black Mirror, so we're back into watching episodes of Black Mirror again. I might do another one tonight. I think I have 2 to do tomorrow, and then 2 to do Sunday, maybe 2 to do Monday. I have to take a look and see again, but trying to catch up to and finish off the different seasons. And I want to try to do a ideas inspired by those episodes. And I probably will do them in chunks of season 1 was only, I think, 3 episodes long. Season 2 was 4 or 5 episodes. It might have been 6, but season 3 is 6. Season 4 is 6. And then season 5, I believe, is only 3 again. And so I want to do them maybe in sets of 3. We'll see. We'll see how that turns out. I'll be watching them theoretically as we get towards the end in just single episodes. But seasonally, I think like the first season should be 1 episode of ideas inspired by it. The second season might be 2. And third season could be 2 or 3. Probably 2. And then, yeah, I mean, I think 3 per episode of ideas inspired by should work. Because I'm going to be honest, other than San Junipero, that 1 episode just floored me. I don't think I'll see much TV that compares to that in a long time. I don't know that there were any other episodes that I felt had that much weight to them, that they were significant enough. And a lot of them are very derivative of science fiction TV anthologies that have come before. So it feels very derivative. And maybe that's just me being cranky about the 1 episode I saw tonight already. But so that's sort of what I'm working on. I do think I still have to finish reading the stories in that book that I started before the unwelcome guest next door made it a problem to film. So I want to see if maybe I can finish that off too. But tomorrow, new candy cane. Tomorrow, more episodes of Black Mirror. Tomorrow, new discussion of the last of the creations for product and cooking. And then I will see you on Sunday for where we go from here. All right, thanks for joining me. This has been a long one again for first time in a long time, it feels like. And I will see you tomorrow. Take care and have yourself a good night. Have a good... Come on, we can do this. I think that's the one difficulty about this new setup that I've made here. Is it's not set up to be particularly ergonomic to achieve. But take care. Catch you tomorrow. We're getting better a little bit every time. Oh, come on. Come on. There we go. There we